Good evening. I will call to order our May 27th, 2025 City Council meeting. I am your Mayor, Brendan Kalfas. Tonight we will have City Manager Aaron Adams lead us in our invocation, and I will lead you all in our flag salute right after. If everyone could please stand.
Would you please bow your head? Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we give you thanks for this day. We give you thanks for the privilege of working and serving the city of Temecula. Lord, we lift up our residents, our businesses. We truly believe this is a blessed city on so many levels, yet we still have our challenges, Lord. I just pray that you provide myself, this staff, this council, the wisdom, the discernment to lead in the manner that you would want. I lift up, Lord, all the city employees for protection, especially our police and fire, our first responders, Lord, that are putting their lives on the line each and every day for a safer community. Bless the conversation this evening. Again, wisdom and discernment in all decisions. And Lord, we give you all glory and honor in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. That was beautiful. If everyone could please face the flag, place your right hand over your heart, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, we have a roll call, please.
Yes. Councilmember Alexander?
Here.
Mayor Kalfas?
Here.
Councilmember Ron?
Here.
Councilmember Schwank?
Here.
Councilmember Stewart?
All right, we are all here. We'll start off with our presentations. I believe there will be some members from the California Park and Recreation Society, if you'd like to please come forward, as well as Mike Morey from our media team, and Bea Barnett and Nino Abad from Facility Design Award. And these awards will be presented to you for marketing and communications to the Community Services Department social media team. Welcome.
Good evening, Temecula Council. My name is Candace Smith, and I'm from the City of Ontario. I work as a manager for the Recreation and Community Services Department in Ontario, and I serve as the California Parks and Rec Society Region 4 representative, which is a large region down here in Southern California, which includes District 11, 13, and 14, and I'm happy to present this award. It looks like we've been here several times, actually. This is not the first time that CPRS has awarded this fantastic city for their efforts. But first, we will go ahead and present the first award to the Award of Excellence in Facility Design with the Community Center Mixed Use Facility Class 2 Award. And this award will be given to Nino on behalf of the CPRS for your Margarita Recreation Center, which is an intergenerational, inclusive, and multi-use facility that highlights an inclusive pool, a beautiful mosaic within the facility, and overall, just on a personal note, the City of Ontario came to Temecula to do our retreat for our Community Services Agency. We actually stayed out here in the beautiful city of Temecula. We got a wonderful tour from your team, and this is actually one of the facilities that we were able to tour. And I personally have pictures taking selfies with the mosaic, and I loved the facility. So on behalf of CPRS, I want to award this to Nino. And just to highlight, all of our awards are actually handmade, and every single one of them is individualized. So on behalf of CPRS, I would like to give this to you. All right, and one more. I wanted to, Mike here with her Temecula Parks and Recreation social media is also winning an award for the amazing work that you all have done with your marketing, your communications, and excellence. So this is for your digital media, social media Class 2 award from the city, from California Parks and Recreation Society. And again, an individualized award. I don't follow you on social media, and maybe I should starting today. So, but it looks like what you all are doing here is widely recognized. I got here a little bit early. Traffic wasn't as bad, so that's great. And I'm standing in your lobby and I see awards from 2007 in marketing, 2008, 2011, 12, 13, 14. I can go on. I hear Mike's desk is full of these wonderful awards. So congratulations to the city of Temecula for your social media. And Mike, this is for you. Thank you, City Council. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for being here. All right, moving on to our board and commission reports. We have Planning Commission, Commissioner Trejo.
Hello,
Welcome.
thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, we have our 5 commissioners, myself and Vice Chair Gary Watts, Fernando Solis, Bob Hagel, and Mark Watson, our newest commissioner. And just as a side note, Fernando's awaiting the birth of his first child. It's a boy. So we're all eagerly awaiting to make sure everything goes okay there. So the Planning Commission serves as a designated statutory planning agency for the city, and we review and make recommendations on topics such as subdivisions, specific plans, zone changes, plot plans, and we conduct legally required public hearings. Our last meeting was last week on May 21st. On May 7th, so I'll be reporting on 2 different meetings. On May 7th, we reviewed a condominium map and development plan application for 14 multifamily residential units, and these are on 6th Street. So if you were to drive down there, it would be right in that curve. There's a lot there, and so we received, the staff received 1 email from a resident opposing the project, and there were 2 public speakers at the hearing who expressed concerns with traffic and privacy concerns with regard to the windows above and adjacent to their homes, and we feel like their concerns were met. Staff was able to address those, and the commission voted 5-0 to approve the application. The first item on May 21st was the commission reviewed an amendment to the previously approved objective design standards, and this is our staff does this well in trying to make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, and making sure that all of those design standards are up to par with single-family residences and accessory dwelling units, so that we are good with the state. And there were no public speakers for this item. The commission voted 4-0 to approve the application. Next item was the commission reviewed the 3rd amendment to the development agreement between Lennar Homes and Winchester Hills to rescind the 1st amendment to the agreement, and there were no public speakers, and we voted 4-0 on that to approve the recommendation. And the last item was the commission reviewed a development plan for the Altair Private Recreation Center and Village C1 Park, and this is the recreation center that contains 1991 square foot recreation building, 1,400 square foot multi-purpose building, and 1,000 square foot pool building, cabanas, fire pit, barbecue area, and also 2 pickleball courts, and a half basketball court, picnic area, and an open turf area. And there were no public speakers for this item, and the commission voted 3-0. We had 1 commissioner who needed to recuse himself on that particular item. Next slide. I think that's it. Any questions?
Any questions or comments from my colleagues?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to our public safety report by our Chief of Police, Captain Regali. Good evening.
Let me try that again. Good evening, Mayor Kalfas, council, city staff, members of the public. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. Next slide, please. So we have here total calls for service for the month of April 2025, 5,600, just over 5,600 calls for service in the city of Temecula. You'll see there in the far left column the priorities, priority 1 through 4, and then the corresponding times for each of those for the months of February, March, and April. I am seeing here that there was a slight uptick in our response times for the priorities 1 and 2 in particular, which, as you know, is our most serious and important calls to get to. And what I can say is that, those calls or those response times can be affected by the time of day that the call is being dispatched, the location of where that call is, and traffic closures or anything else that might extend the deputy's arrival. Keeping in mind that our streets are crowded most of the time, as you know, as you're aware, and that we do encourage our deputies to get there as quickly as possible, but do so safely, right? Crashing en route to a call, which does sometimes happen, doesn't help anybody, and in fact just creates a greater strain on resources to respond to that incident as well. Next slide. So here we have a pie chart, total response time breakdown for all priority 1 through 4 calls for the month. Priority 1 calls, 62 total calls, comprising only 1%. Again, priority 2 being just over 2,000 calls for service, or 37% of the call load. Next slide. And then again, priority 1s, these are just priority 1s by call type. Again, juvenile, medical aid, not a surprise there. That seems to be the norm with our priority 1 calls. In the second column there, robbery at 11, traffic collisions 5, and so on down the line. It's important to note that while there were 62 total priority 1 calls for the month, it doesn't always necessarily mean that the calls are founded. They are sometimes unfounded once we get there and the deputy sheriffs have a chance to investigate and figure out exactly what occurred. Any questions on that? Next slide. So the last slide I have for you tonight, I wanted to share with you some stats for our robbery burglary suppression team. I know you received some information on this the other day. The robbery burglary suppression team is a very active team. They receive a lot of reports for follow-up, a lot of calls for service. So what you're looking at here is for the all stats for calendar year 2024. This team investigates all robberies, carjackings, thefts, burglaries occurring in the city of Temecula. Last year, the team authored 184 search warrants, resulting in 102 arrests, and closed 140 cases. And this is a very active team, and I will share with you that these crimes, especially the burglary calls, they require an enormous amount of follow-up search warrants for electronic devices. So we use this team robustly for this effort. They stay very busy, as you can see, by the 184 search warrants that they wrote in pursuit of trying to solve these crimes, whether they're residential burglaries, commercial burglaries, or commercial robberies. And next slide. And the last slide I have for you is just some images from Southwest Station personnel. Of course, the posse is active in Old Town. On the bottom right there, you have a rural crime team that is receiving an award. They are housed and operate out of the Southwest Station. Trainees in the lower left corner, those are all brand new deputy sheriffs who arrived to the station that are currently training. And then, of course, upper left is the results and efforts of a pharmaceutical collection day that we had at one of our local grocery stores. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Any questions or comments from my colleagues? We got a notification that the med team was in Temecula too, so tell them on behalf of the city council and the city, thank you for being here.
I will.
That is the mounted enforcement detail on the horses, the paid. Well, thank you very much, Chief. We'll move on to public comments of non-agenda items. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
We do, Mr. Mayor. We have 8 public comments tonight, and I have actually put them all in the system. So if you would like to go ahead and give it a try, I think we might be able to do it after all.
Let's check this out here. Let's try it out. Everyone gets to watch live as we try to see this.
Your first speaker is Mark Kramer, to be followed by Chris Bailey.
Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Mark Kramer. I've been a resident in this area for 39 years, so I've been around a while. Tonight I'm representing the Sons of the American Revolution, more specifically the Eagle chapter, which is located in the city of Temecula. If you're not familiar with our organization is a nonprofit, lineal organization that we can trace our ancestors back to members that fought in the American Revolution or at least supported the American Revolution. And our organization was started in 1876, obviously for the 100th year anniversary for the American Revolution. We're coming up on the 250th anniversary, not this 4th of July, the following 4th of July is where we're looking at. But actually, some of the events occurred less than 250 years ago. Last month, we celebrated the Battle of Lexington and Concord. Actually, today would be the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Chelsea Creek, where patriots captured the HMS Diana and actually looted it and took the stuff out. But I'm not here tonight to talk about that. What I'm here to talk about, and as I said, representing the Sons of the American Revolution local chapter, we've participated in the 4th of July parade in the past. This year, we would like to participate as a full color guard, and that's with our historically correct our brown bess weapons. We can render them completely non-functional by removing the flint and putting a wood block in where the flint goes, making them so they can't fire. We fire in parades, I'll say frequently. In fact, for the last several years, we fired in the city of Riverside for their Veterans Parade. The city of Riverside actually pays us to be there and fire in their parade. This is obviously is a non-firing parade, and we're not asking for that, but we would like the opportunity to be able to carry our firearms, if you will, during the parade. It's a color guard. The whole emphasis of a color guard is the two individuals that are guarding the national colors. That's the reason why they call it a color guard. The two members, or the two individuals that will be handling the firearms are two veterans. And the two veterans have also been through the NRA black powder safety course. And one of us is a safety officer. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your opportunity to speak. And I know you can't make a decision on this tonight. I just wanted to put this on your radar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. If you email the city clerk with exactly what you're asking, we can get back to you on that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Chris Bailey, to be followed by Laurel Lamont.
Welcome, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chris Bailey, owner of Bailey's Restaurant in Old Town Temecula and part of the family behind Bailey Vineyard and Winery. I've had the privilege of watching Temecula grow for over 40 years, from dirt roads and 0 stoplights to the vibrant, thriving destination we know today. It was a long time ago, but I remember when the I-15 section that connected Temecula and the 76 was first completed. That was in 1985. It was a misty spring morning, and we may have been playing hooky as several of us high schoolers headed to Oceanside for a beach day adventure. The freeway was pristine and completely brand new, and it was glorious. We were one of only a handful of cars. That memory is well lodged in my brain alongside many others that define the Temecula in which I grew up in. Temecula was and still is the land of opportunity, but over the years, the freeway became more and more congested and tarnished a bit of the optimism I felt that morning. When our family opened the doors to Bailey Vineyard and Winery in the 1980s, Temecula was just starting to define itself. Today, it's a community full of energy, culture, and opportunity, and that kind of growth doesn't happen by accident. The well-engineered expansion of the I-15 is a big moment for Temecula. As someone who lives, works, and employs people here, I can tell you firsthand that improving our infrastructure isn't just about convenience. It's about keeping up with the momentum we've built. More efficient travel means locals can move around more easily and get back precious moments of their time. It also means more visitors can experience what we have to offer. It's an investment in our future, in our economy, and in the quality of life for everyone who calls this place home. Over the years, We've welcomed more wineries, restaurants, and small businesses and events that draw people in from all over the world. But we've also seen the pressure that growth puts on our roads. This project is a smart response to that challenge and supports the continued success of tourism, commerce, and daily life in Temecula. It's the kind of forward-thinking work that keeps us growing in the right direction. So I want to thank each and every one of you who helped make this happen. Your work makes a real difference, not just for today, but for the next 40 years and beyond. I'm very proud to be a part of this community, and I'm excited to see where we go next. So thank you very much. Well done. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey. Our next speaker will be Laurel Lamont.
Very good.
Welcome.
Hi. All right. So I reside at Warehouse at Creekside, just behind Bailey's, and I'm in apartment 201. This city spent $6 million from the redevelopment agency funds from the state to build that building. And I'm waiting on documents to show inspection of that building. There are no plumbing cleanouts, no dryer ventilations. My dryer vents inside my apartment. Do you know how hot that gets and how hot that's going to get during the summer? I was forced out of my one-bedroom unit and into a higher, more expensive unit, a two-bedroom unit, which I and my son share. And the income that is utilized to verify what I qualify for is based on a 3-person fictional family of $96,000, which allows the rent to be up to $2,200 and some change. I make $52,000 a year as a single mom. The regulatory agreement that this city spent $6 million to build this building and develop that regulatory agreement doesn't even match HUD. Why? Where's the transparency? Why? Why doesn't the regulatory agreement match HUD's affordability clause? This is what I make. I work here, I live here. This is not affordability. It's also not transparent. You're going to take state funds and at the same time blame the state. Do better. Find out how we can do better instead of forcing single parents out of affordable housing or overcharging them when we're taking money from the state to build this housing. Or are we taking money from the state to incentivize our friends who are developers? Because this building also profits off of commercial real estate, not under affordable covenant on the bottom.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lamont. I can tell you that we have received the public records that you have requested, and our staff is working on getting those to you. And we are also in the process of renegotiating the regulatory agreement with the Warehouse at Creekside. So more to come on that at a future public hearing. Our next public speaker is Ed Ackerman. Welcome, Mr. Ackerman.
Good evening. My name is Ed Ackerman, Honorable Mayor, Council, City staff, fellow citizens, and awesome neighbors. My name's Ed Ackerman. I've lived in Temecula for 37 years. I'm a retired firefighter paramedic from the city of Glendale. I worked 30 years, 19 of those as a captain. I'm here to talk about fire responses for medical calls in Temecula. NFPA, National Fire Protection Agency, 1710 identifies the breakdown that when you call 911, a call should be processed in 1 minute and 4 seconds, 95% of the time. Turnout time when the alarm goes off to when the firefighters start rolling should be 1 minute, and the engine should get there within 4 minutes. So why do I say that? Because a patient who does not have a pulse or is breathing has 4 to 6 minutes before the brain starts dying and 10 minutes before the brain is dead. 5 years ago, my granddaughter had a medical event, and I called 911, and it took 10 minutes to get there. I was beside myself, and I talked to Mr. Adams. He helped me contact the Riverside County chief, who investigated that call and determined it was a dispatch error, basically, a learning opportunity for the dispatcher. My brother-in-law, Bill, is here, and his mom fell about 2 years ago, and we had to call 911. It took 11 minutes for engine 84 to get to her house in Temecula. I discussed this with city council members. City manager's office referred me to Chief Crater. Chief Crater was willing to listen to me and offered some suggestions to make it better. Okay, my neighbor Jenny is here. She's a single mom. Her daughter suffered a seizure on May 4th. At 11:01 p.m., she called 911. She was on the phone for 6.5 minutes, and then they hung up, and she had 3 minutes of just no one's there yet. She texts our neighbors. A lot of them are in the back there. And at 11:10, 9 minutes later, she had to call us to help. We got there. Eric, who's back there, got to her house before the paramedics did. And long story short, 14-minute response time. And that's why I'm here, because it happens again and again. And basically, the last thing I'm going to say is, Honorable Mayor, as a firefighter paramedic yourself, I respectfully ask that you support in advancing efforts to make Temecula a safer city by educating
Your
fellow
time is up, Mr. Eckerman. I apologize. Thank you very much. We heard what you said. We're going to talk with Chief Crater, and he said he's already investigating the call that you're speaking about, and we will be in touch shortly on any ways we can improve those response times. But we hear you. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Greg Langworthy. We won't start your clock until you start speaking. How about that? Absolutely.
And then, all right, so I'm going to talk about our election system. So first, an election has to be run according to law. I think everyone's going to agree with that. Voter rolls have to be accurate. Only eligible voters can vote. System must be highly accurate. One ballot error out of every 125,000 ballots. That would, Riverside County, you can have 8 ballot errors and still be in compliance for that election to be certified. And then the last one is the one I want to highlight. Ballots cast must equal votes counted, and that's election code 15302. We're all on the same page with our registrar on that issue. Back in March of 2024, before the March primary, we met with the ROV and they said, hey, that's what we do. We got to have accuracy between ballots cast and votes counted. So we decided to do an audit, and that's what all those are. Everything there is a ballot statement. And ballot statements is where our election workers, this is Temecula Community Center, this is one of their ballot statements, and they have a record of every single ballot they received on that day. So we were able, because of the cooperation of our ROV, to get all the ballot statements in the 2024 election, and we just added them up. And our county, you got to give them praise because they are unique in that they gave us all these records. The total ballots, however, did not match the machine count. The machine count counted 33,188 more ballots than you can account for with those records. That's the problem. See if you can see that. So what that meant is that this election really should not have been certified. We are in conversation with the ROV. We met with them February 25th. We presented the data. We met with them again April 10th. They came back and gave us a little bit of an explanation, and now we are still in conversation. How could this happen? So we don't know how it happened. I don't think they know how it happened. But it really is of concern because all of us in this room are committed to a free and fair election, because that's where you guys get your authority, is the consent of the governed. So we have to make sure that this system works. Our county, I think, is willing to listen, but I think you guys need to know too, because all your constituents, of course, are concerned that we got to make sure that whoever is up here really was given the consent of the governed. So it's a process. We're still in the process. We're just going to keep you updated.
Thank you very much, Mr. Langworthy. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have one question?
One question, sir, while you're there. Is the ROV prepared for the 2026 election to move forward?
We are going to audit this next special election in the same way we audited the 2024 election, because we want to see if we get the same result. We don't think they're ready yet. But I think the way that you fix a problem is you first define it and then you start working on it. You know, you don't get this done in a day. And we're committed to working with the ROV. We're committed to working with you guys, because we all have the same goal.
Thank you very much,
Free and fair
Mr.
election.
Langworthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brendan.
Our next speaker, Roger Williams. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, members of the community. Those of you who know me, you know my issue. I am a member of Red Hawk. I've been living in that community for over 30 years. In 2005, the city council, along with the planning committee, you made a deal with the members of Red Hawk. We were not incorporated into the city of Temecula. The city said if we go along with the scam, the bamboozlement, the okie doke, and so forth, that you would stop treating us like orphans, right? That's why all of the big box stores, all the storage facilities, all the crap is right there bumped up against Red Hawk. All we ask for is to get a return on our taxes. And the big thing being is the parks that we have. Planning committee just told you about this new pickleball court. You got all these bike trails. You have all these great things for the city to draw in outsiders. But the parks we have in our communities don't even have restrooms. You just updated the park at Temecula Creek Trails, right? Let's bring all the kids in, bring all the kids in. If you have kids, the last thing you tell your kids before you leave the house is what? Use the bathroom. When they get to where you're going, what's the first thing they say? I have to use the bathroom. Well, you know what they do at the parks in Red Hawk, at Temecula Creek, Stephen Leonard Jr. Memorial Park, Red Hawk Community Park? Hey, find a bush. That is a public health hazard for the community and the people who use it. You can't say, well, we don't have any water there. Yeah, you do, because they all have a water fountain. Temecula Creek Trail, that is the halfway point of a walking trail that's utilized by not only the people of Red Hawk, but people throughout the city. These are adults. Let's think about this. Have a tot lot where all the bushes are, adults using the walking trail, nowhere to go. The bushes are full of diapers and human feces. You know my issue. I brought this up to you before. How is it that all these new communities get a park and they get facilities, and some of ours get a porta john, but Temecula Creek, we don't have one, and that park has been there since 2005. How hard can it be? Do better. 3 years ago, you had a surplus in the budget of $1 million, which you were giving away.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Your time is up. We hear
Thank you, and I look forward to your cooperation.
Thank you very much. Our next public speaker is Therese Lewis. And while they're walking up, if any of my colleagues have any questions of the public speakers, we can get with our Madam City Clerk and she can give you the speaker's information. That way we can do that after. So no more questions for our public speakers here. Welcome, Ms. Lewis.
Good evening, Mayor Kalfis, City Council members, city staff, and members of the public. My name is Therese Lewis, and I am the Executive and Clinical Director for the Empowerment Center. We've been serving here in the city of Temecula for over 2 decades now, and almost 25 years nationally. I'm here to acknowledge that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we want to thank you all for your funding that you have provided to our programming, specifically our Youth Mental Health Community Health Worker Program. Your community service funding and your CSDBG funding, the Community Services Block Grant funding, has funded our program to do something extraordinary, which is to provide workforce development training and mental health supports to youth ages 16 and 17. We are currently contracted with the state of California to provide this training to adults. You all's funding has allowed us to provide it to 16 and 17-year-olds. And as a licensed mental health professional myself, I cannot emphasize how critical this has been. I want to give you all a couple of stats about what our youth are experiencing. In Riverside County, over 30% of high school students report chronic feelings of sadness and hopelessness, and suicide is the second leading cause of death amongst our youth ages 15 to 19 in Riverside County. Your support and your funding gives them early access to mental health informed training, real pathways into careers in the healthcare sector, behavioral health and human services, and tools to be trusted messengers to their community. Our program is not just teaching job skills, we're shaping a pipeline of young people who will live here, they will work here, they will play here, they will lead here, and they will be the next face of healthcare in Temecula. You all should be proud because your funding is allowing us to do that for 16 to 17-year-olds. I want to thank you on behalf of myself, our founder and president, Ms. Tiffany Baker, and our board of directors. You all need to know what your funding is allowing us to do. This is just the beginning, though. Mental health is an issue. It's a workforce issue. It's a housing issue. It's not just a clinical issue. So while I want to thank you all, we want to invite you to partner with us in a deeper way, in a way that's not around just grant cycles, but in a way where Temecula youth can be referred. Families can access this program, and if you want to know more, please scan that QR code to get the details and the qualifications. It is free for those who qualify. Let's empower more of our youth right here in our city. We're having a graduation in July. We would love for you all to come. It is July 18th. You'll have a specific invite in your emails. And if you can't make it in July, come in November. We'll give you the date for that as well. We have invited y'all before, and y'all have not come. But I want to keep extending the invitation. Come see what your funding is doing.
Thank you very much. We're grateful to partner with you all. Our next public speaker is Ebony Lawrence. Good evening, Ms. Lawrence.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor Kalfis, council, and city staff. My name is Ebony Lawrence, and I am the Community Health Worker Director for the Empowerment Center. And I just want to really echo my thanks for the funding, the CDBG funding, the community service funding, and really what it is allowed for me to do as a homegrown Temeculanan, born in Temecula, gone through all Temecula schools, and then been able, even my mother actually worked here as a city employee for many, many years. So to not only grow up through the Empowerment Center's programs and get the skills and support that my family needed from mental wellness to mental health to workforce development to financial literacy and everything in between, and then to be able to turn around and help in the very place that I received the help is so huge, and I'm so blessed to be able to do that. We are also fortunate to have a partnership with Temecula Valley Unified School District, specifically to help the workability students, those who are on IEPs, those who are often overlooked and need that workforce training support, the critical support to be able to get the skills not only to graduate, but to have successful careers right here. Not having to drive up the freeway to get a career specifically in mental health and behavioral health fields. They get to serve right here and be trusted messengers for the youth who look just like them. And I just want to say thank you, because your funding is allowing us to serve here and not just help youth survive those statistics, but to serve other youth, to move from being survivors to being overcomers. You're looking at overcomers, and we're getting to train up and deploy a frontline army of more overcomers right here in our city. So we want to say thank you. Please come to our graduation. Please scan the QR code for our fall 2025 cohort. And thank you so much. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the work that you do. Madam City Clerk, do we have any further public speakers? Thank you very much. Moving on to City Council reports. We will start off with Councilmember Stewart. All right, Councilmember On.
All right, I have a couple things. Start with the slide, maybe. Just wanted to extend a gratitude to the Temecula Valley Symphony for doing another outstanding Memorial Day concert this past weekend. Been a great partner for the city. This was, I think, the first year, maybe the first year I was there, where they did it at the theater. It was well attended, great event. And also wanted to thank the VFW and our mutual good friend, John Hernandez, for once again hosting a great event at the Temecula Duck Pond, recognizing Memorial Day. So thank you so much for that. And I think I have a video. Is that right? Do I?
Hey Temecula, it's Matt Ron, council member for District 1. I'm out here in Temecula Creek and we're cutting down the vegetation. It's that time of year where we need to get out and save our community from fire risk and make sure that we do the best to manage those heavy fuels and make Temecula more resilient. You can do your part too. Go on the city's website, check out all the resources we have online, and see what you can do to make your house safer and work together as a community to make sure we are safe from wildfire risk. Thank you so much.
And I know you're all wondering, no, they would not let me drive the mower. But we are excited to see a lot of the good activity happening down in Temecula Creek and areas south of town. But look forward to rolling out a number of new programs here over the next coming months to rapidly advance Temecula's public safety and community resilience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great video. Councilmember Schwank.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have one slide. So I just wanted to thank my colleagues for supporting projects like these, as well as city staff for all the time and effort to bring these to our community. So this is the Margarita Road undercrossing. If you recall being out there prior to this, you would have to cross like at the Winco light, essentially. So that trail would go all the way from Nicholas Road and it would just stop at Margarita Road. And this is one little key link in a broader trail network, or a Temecula loop as we're calling it, where we're working on a completely class 1, which is off-street, would look similar to this, all the way throughout the city. So we are really close, honestly, to being able to bike from Old Town to Wine Country. So from Kai Contento, maybe from Peltzer all the way to Old Town on a class 1 like this. And this is a long process. This is something that's taken many, many years to bring to the community, and I'm proud that we did it. So I want to say thank you, and appreciate the community showing up and always partnering with us, whether it's some of the groups or the organizations or the bike businesses that are involved. Really great turnout, and really happy to see so many people using this. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just want to just give everybody a little bit of a debrief of where I was over the weekend. I don't know what day it was. I guess over this last week. It was about a 3-day process, and working with our economics division and also the city manager's office, I was able to go out there and have just great conversations over at ICSC. And so I'm just going to read a little bit about what that is. It is a conference that's held in Las Vegas. We were there from the 20th to 22nd. ICSC is the biggest global trade association for marketplace industry of retail. And it is the annual Las Vegas conference, is a large-scale event in terms of attendance and physical space, occupying a full Las Vegas Convention Center. If you haven't been there, it's massive. To let you know, I think we walked about 10 miles while we were there. Somebody actually tracked that. So we did about 10 miles that day, a lot of good walking. ICSC is an excellent opportunity for retailers, from car dealers, restaurants, big boxes, boutiques, grocers, and much more, property owners, developers, to engage directly with each other and city officials. Just to let you guys know, mainly it's comprised a lot of the elected officials, city management, and economic development professionals. This was my first opportunity to go, just have wonderful conversations. We had approximately 20 meetings, I think, within about a day. It was really great to just get to know some of these individuals who are looking at coming to Temecula to be able to bring in new ideas, new opportunities for our residents, whether it be for EV, for cars and such. I think I can say at least this much. Dutch Bros wants to now put in, I think, 4 more Dutch Bros here in Temecula. They want to compete, I guess, against Starbucks. So that's just interesting conversations having with different people. I learned a lot, and I'm just very appreciative of staff going there. They did an excellent job. As you can see, the 3 ladies that I went with, I learned a lot and just had great conversations. So that being said, I look forward to going the next year. We can close that slide down. I had the opportunity, just as well as the other city council members, we seem to have split areas where we needed to go for the observance of Memorial Day this year. I was asked to be a speaker over at the Temecula Cemetery. I've been there a couple times. It was wonderful. I was very happy to see the Knights of Columbus out there, and they literally read off all of the names of the veterans who have died within Temecula, and it's incredible. So I just want to say thank you to them for just offering me the opportunity to come and to speak. And the last bit I just want to talk to is for the gentleman that came up a little while ago, one of my neighbors, about the bathrooms. I am actually going to report out on the TCSD report when it comes up here in a little bit tonight. So if you want to stick around, I'll just give you a quick update on the bathrooms and how that's going to be rolling out and what's already been done in process. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a couple slides here on the same topic. Let's see. So there's a little insight to the French Valley Parkway Phase 2 social media campaign that we put on. And as we all know, our social media is a way that the city disseminates information out and it gets it out. And you can see here, September 6, 2022 through April 28, 2025, the first video at the start of construction in 2022 garnered 13.1 thousand views versus the final video, which had over 519,000 views, which is pretty amazing. And the campaign in totality resulted in over 2.5 million views and over 36,000 likes across IG, Instagram, and Facebook, which it really just shows, a testament to our social media campaign team, Betsy, Christine, and Lean, getting out information. That way the public knows exactly what's going on. And it seems like there's always construction going on and construction happening, and this is the way that we let the public know what's going on. We talk about it here at the public hearings, but as we know, this day and age, a lot of the information that people learn and find out about and talk about is via social media. And I added a second slide here that shows just that. It wasn't on there at first, but I wanted to add it to make sure that we showed positivity and positive comments. There's a lot of negativity on social media, but there is, in fact, some positive comments. And these are just a few of the awesome comments regarding that French Valley Parkway Phase 2. Temecula does an excellent job in communication of these infrastructure updates. Thank you. And the list goes on and on. But again, thank you to our social media team for disseminating that information and letting the public and our city know exactly what is going on. That way they are in the loop on all the traffic and the closures and the openings of on and off ramps. And rest assured, we are working on our traffic issue here in Temecula. So thank you very much. We will move on here now to our consent calendar. Item number 1, waive reading of title and text of all ordinances and resolutions included in the agenda. Item number 2, approve action minutes of May 13th, 2025. Item number 3, approve list of demands. Item number 4, adopt ordinance number 2025-06, amending Title 17, zoning of the Temecula Municipal Code to repeal and replace Chapter 17.23, accessory dwelling units, long-range project number LR 250068, the second reading. Please note that Mayor Pro Tem Alexander and Councilmember Ron voted no on this, and they'll vote no on this for consistency with the prior vote on this item. Item number 5, adopt ordinance number 2025-07, amending Title 17 of the Temecula zoning code relating to Bedford Court Project, APN 922-210-042, planning application number PA 23-0280, PA 23-0204, PA 23-0197, PA 23-0198, and lastly, PA 24-0348, the second reading. Item number 6, adopt resolution approving the statement of investment policy and delegating investment authority to the city treasurer. Item number 7, approve agreement with Western AV, Inc. for the purchase and installation of audio-visual equipment in city facilities. Item number 8, approve agreement with T.Y. Lin International for highway planting and landscaping design consultant services for the I-15 French Valley Parkway improvements, Phase 2, highway planting, PW 16-01. Item number 9, accept improvements and file the notice of completion for the pickleball courts, PW 21-03. I will entertain a motion.
Move approval. I will second that, and thank you for recognizing, I think, our no votes on item number 4 for myself and Mayor Pro Tem.
Absolutely.
I'd like to make a comment?
Absolutely.
One of them. If I can just comment on number 4, especially, I think that goes and ties in with the individual that was here talking about the response, and I just want to say, Sheriff, I know you guys are doing the best you can, but this is the exact reason, ladies and gentlemen, why we're needing local control. When we continue to allow housing to, and people just, the state to mandate where housing is going to go, it's going to slow down on our response time, our hospitals are going to be impacted, our water is going to be impacted, the electricity in our city and beyond is going to continue to be impacted. So I want to make a note that this is exactly the reason why I am against number 4 for this ordinance for many reasons. So we need to have more local control, and this is just another reason why or another thing that they just continue to strip from us. So that's why I'm voting on against number 4.
All right, the consent calendar has been moved and seconded. Please vote. And that consent calendar passes 5-0 unanimously. We will now recess the city council meeting to the Temecula Community Services District meeting with President Schwenk.
Thank you, Mayor Kalfas. Please let me call the Temecula Community Services District meeting to order. Madam Secretary, please note that we're all still here. Do we have any public comments on non-agenda items? Okay, we'll go ahead and move to our consent calendar where we have 2 items. We have item number 10, approve action minutes of May 13th, 2025. And item 11 is set public hearing to approve Temecula Community Services District proposed rates and charges for fiscal year 2025-26. With that, I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Move to approval.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let us please vote. Thank you very much. That passes 5-0. We'll now move to our Director of Community Services report. Anything this evening, Director Russo?
Yes, just one slide. Okay, so we'd like to, actually, I'm sorry, I have 2 slides. We'd like to invite everyone to our next Temecula mural project unveiling. It's going to be in honor of California state parks. So you can see the image there, paying homage to kind of some of the great symbols of our beautiful state. That's going to be Wednesday, May 28th at 5 p.m., and that's at Sam Hicks Monument Park, which is just right up the street in front of the Temecula Valley Museum. Next slide, please. And then on Friday, June 6th, we have another monthly art walk. That's from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Merc and the Lot on Main. You can see in the picture there we have a lot of local artisans who come and display their work. It's a really great little marketplace. There's live music, some refreshments, just a lovely evening in Old Town. And for more information on these or any other events, you can go to our website, temeculaca.gov/events. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. General Manager, anything this evening?
Just the fact that the speaker, Mr. Williams, happy to follow up with him offline, or Erica. We'll get you the information on the public restrooms that are in the queue, that are in our capital budget, and we can follow up on that too offline.
Great, thank you very much. Board of Directors, anything? Sure, direct to.
As promised, I did want to talk about porta potties. City Manager, thank you so much for just kind of giving him an update. I know you'll give all the information needed, but I just want to let you know, I know we've had this conversation about porta potties literally a block from our house. And just as promised, we had the conversations and it is in motion. We had certain reasons why there's certain parks that we cannot put porta potties in or bathrooms, whether it be for access or as well because of financing. It's very expensive to put a whole entire bathroom in. But myself and Councilmember Schwank were on the community subcommittee last year, as we had discussed, I think closer to the end of the year, sometime around October. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to be able to play out and really make a difference in what you're seeing. So please continue to let us know. We look forward to having you connect with city staff, but it's not gone unnoticed, and it's something that we definitely already put in motion. So thanks for coming up and talking.
Great, thank you. Anything else from directors? Okay, I'm just going to add something really quick. I wanted to thank Candace from CPRS for coming and presenting the 2 awards for community services, and congratulate Nino and Mike and really their entire team, because while they're the face of it and they received the award, there is a deep well of folks that work on those projects, and so they're I'm sure they get to keep them at their desk, but they spread them across the various departments. So congratulations to those folks. All right, and with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting to the next one.
And I will call to order the joint meeting of City Council, Community Services District, and Successor Agency to the Redevelopment Agency, which is a joint public hearing. Item number 12, approve fiscal years 2026 through 2030 capital improvement program and adopt fiscal year 2025, 2026 CIP and annual operating budgets for the City of Temecula, the Temecula Community Services District, and the Successor Agency to the Redevelopment Agency. Can we have a staff report? Ms. Hennessy.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Tonight's presentation will be a very abbreviated version of the annual operating budget and capital improvement program that was presented in detail during the Council's budget workshop last week on May 22nd. I'll provide highlights for the General Fund, Measure S, and TCSD funds, as well as the city's authorized staff and capital improvement program. I'll also summarize the actions taken at the budget workshop and the adjustments to the proposed budget that will be included in the final budget if approved tonight. The General Fund serves as the city's primary operating fund and provides the funding required to deliver public safety, public works, community development, and administrative services to the City of Temecula. General Fund revenue is projected to reach $114 million, with sales tax contributing 40% of total revenue. Expenditures are projected to be $107 million next fiscal year. Transfers to other funds include a $500,000 transfer to the capital improvement program for the general plan update project. And as part of the debt liability paydown strategy, $6.3 million in available general fund balance will be combined with $2 million from the city's pension trust to further pay down the unfunded pension liability, which will generate cumulative ongoing savings. The general fund expenditures are projected to increase by 8% to $107 million, of which 56% is dedicated to public safety. The sheriff's budget reflects an 11% increase as a result of new labor agreement negotiated between Riverside County and the Riverside Sheriff's Association. The fire budget reflects a 25% increase due to the reversal of a one-time CalPERS reduction imposed by the state, causing a larger than typical budgetary increase over the current year. The remaining non-safety departments make up 44% of the general fund and are increasing due to labor agreement adjustments. And the non-departmental category includes $3.5 million in annual savings in the city's pension costs as a result of the debt paydown strategy adopted by Council in 2022. The ending fund balance for general fund is projected to be $35.5 million next fiscal year, and reserves are fully funded at $26.7 million, and after deducting for future commitments, the available fund balance is projected to be $8.4 million for one-time appropriations or the further paydown of debt per budget policy. Measure S is the 1-cent transactions and use tax approved by Temecula voters in November of 2016. This revenue source became effective in April of 2017 and has generated nearly $240 million in revenue so far. Measure S is technically considered a general fund. However, we account for it in a separate fund to maximize transparency. For fiscal year 25-26, Measure S revenue is expected to increase by 2.7% over the prior year to $40 million. Total appropriations are budgeted at $42.8 million and are in line with the council's policy guidelines prioritizing public safety, asset management, capital projects, and community services. The Temecula Community Services District is a separate legal entity from the city and has its own operating budget. For next fiscal year, the TCSD budget reflects revenue totaling $21.3 million. Program revenue, which includes the income from contract classes, registration fees, day camp, aquatics, and theater tickets, is projected to be $2.9 million. Measure C, which is the $74.44 parcel tax dedicated to park programs and maintenance, is expected to be $1.9 million, and the Measure S contribution of $16.5 million provides the remaining revenue necessary to cover the operations and maintenance to facilitate TCSD's wide-ranging services and programs. Operating expenditures of $21.3 million are increasing by 2%, primarily due to negotiated labor agreements, leaving an ending fund balance of $100,000. Also, as part of tonight's agenda, a resolution to approve the new schedule of authorized positions and salary schedule are also included. The fiscal year 25-26 salary schedule includes a 2.3% cost of living adjustment per the agreement with Teamsters Local 911. Total authorized positions for fiscal year 25-26 is increasing to 202 full-time equivalent positions, including the 5 council members and 1 authorized but unfunded position. A total of 23 authorized positions have been reclassified to reflect the current job duties assigned to these positions, and 1 new authorized position is being recommended within the Public Works Department. A Signal Technician 1 will assist with the operations and maintenance associated with the traffic signals and residential streetlight network. And to complement the authorized staffing, the city also employs a total of 90.4 full-time equivalent, part-time, or what we call project positions in various seasonal and support positions. 7 additional positions are employed, which are limited in term and intended to support the implementation of the city's new financial system and to backfill staffing for various leaves of absence. Staffing for the sheriff and fire departments are provided through the contracts with Riverside County and CAL FIRE. Sheriff staffing includes 117 sworn deputies and 18 community service officers, exceeding the target ratio of 1 deputy per 1,000 residents. And fire staffing will increase to 79 personnel to accommodate the new CAL FIRE 66-hour work week, and will continue to provide 4 firefighters per engine and ladder truck. The Capital Improvement Program is a comprehensive 5-year plan that addresses the capital needs of the city. Capital projects are those that cost over $30,000, have a long-term lifespan, and are generally non-recurring. The fiscal years 26 to 30 CIP includes 97 separate projects with over $894 million in total cost, segregated by project type as shown on the table to the right. The city has secured funding sources totaling $624 million, or 70% of the total CIP. The remaining $270 million is unspecified at this time. However, before construction begins on any of these projects, a funding source will be identified. And between the current year and next fiscal year, it's anticipated that the CIP spending is programmed to exceed $234 million. During the budget workshop, Council discussed several additional topics not yet reflected in the proposed budget. The first of which was the Care Solace contract, which is a service that helps connect residents to mental health providers. The Council agreed to extend the contract with Care Solace for a 6-month period. Second, the Council discussed the need to update the city's senior services master plan document, and it was recommended to establish a new Council ad hoc subcommittee to lead this project. And third, the Council discussed several aspects of wildfire mitigation measures for the city and recommended we add $250,000 to the fire department budget to begin vegetation mitigation efforts. Council also agreed to establish a new ad hoc subcommittee to address additional wildfire mitigation measures. Additionally, it was discussed during the workshop the desire to address the long-term fiscal planning for TCSD that is warranted and will be assigned to the Strategic Fiscal Services Ad Hoc Subcommittee to develop a TCSD fiscal strategic plan. The city is in its third year of a 7-year paydown effort to eliminate all city debt and unfunded liabilities. Tremendous results have been achieved to date with the complete paydown of the Civic Center and Margarita Center debt. The city's retiree health unfunded liability has been paid in full, and half of the outstanding pension liability has been paid down. The City Council unanimously agreed to accelerate the paydown of the remaining pension liability with an additional $10 million payment in fiscal year 25-26. This effort will yield an additional $2.4 million in interest savings and will shave a year and a half of the 7-year goal to be fully funded. Council also unanimously agreed to hold both a CIP prioritization and a housing workshop later this summer or fall to do a deeper dive into both these high priority topics. Finally, this slide summarizes the budget adjustments between the proposed and final budget and CIP documents. Council actions from the workshop are noted here and were discussed previously, and there are a few administrative actions and corrections to be incorporated into the final budget, including a $6,000 appropriation for Narcan training to be conducted by the city's Office of Emergency Management. A separate CIP project will be added for the La Paz Road roundabout reconstruction for $3 million. The reallocation of a project position from the IT fund to the Support Services Fund is included. And finally, the correction of a budgeting software glitch that was discovered after the proposed budget was published, where the software duplicated several revenue and expenditure line items. These corrections will reduce revenue by $193,000 and expenditures by $97,000 across several funds and departments. This concludes my presentation tonight, and I'm available for any questions you might have. And also, I provided the link to the budget workshop that was held last week on May 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hennessy. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments? With that, I will close the public hearing and open it up for discussion and/or a motion in a second.
Motion.
Second. The item has been moved and seconded. Please vote. And that item passes unanimously, 5-0. Moving on to the, let's see, successor agency to the Temecula Redevelopment Agency, no meeting. Temecula Housing Authority meeting, no meeting. Temecula Public Financing Authority, no meeting. I will reconvene the Temecula City Council meeting, and we'll move on to our public hearing. Item number 13, adopt fire hazard severity zone maps for the city of Temecula prepared by the State Fire Marshal. Can I have a staff report, please?
Mayor Kalfas, if I could, before we get started with the staff and fire marshal's presentation on the fire hazard severity zone maps, we need to deal first with a conflict of interest issue. I've explained that quite extensively in the staff report, and basically what it boils down to is that the personal residences of Mayor Kalfas, Councilmember Stewart, and Councilmember Ron are located within parcels within the fire zone that are going to be proposed to be approved tonight. So under the Fair Political Practices law and the regulations, those council members may not participate in this action. But if you'll notice, that's more than a majority of the city council. And so we need 3 votes to have a quorum. We need 3 votes to adopt the ordinance. And the Fair Political Practices Act has a provision saying that we can use random selection and draw the name of one of those council members to come back and participate. Now, I know that sounds weird, but that is what the law is, and that's what we have done in the past where there have been these type of situations. There are some very detailed procedures that the city clerk will carry out. And again, the whole point is that the selection is by random selection. And so it'll be very transparent. She'll show you all that's being done, and we'll draw the name of one of you to participate. And when that name is drawn, then that person will be able to participate on all matters related to the fire maps.
Thank you very much, Mr. Attorney.
Before we start?
No questions. Let's
Okay.
have Madam City Clerk.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I have here a clear glass. I have 3 name tags. The first name tag is James Stewart. The second name tag is Brendan Kalfis. And the third name tag is Matt Ron. So I will go ahead and I will fold these up and I will put them in the jar so that I cannot determine what name is on what slip.
Feels like we should get a drum roll here.
All 3 name tags have been folded in equal parts and deposited in the glass jar that is before you. I will go ahead and move that around, and I will go ahead and select from the jar. There are still 2 tags in it, and the individual that will be participating is Brendan Kalfis.
Lucky me. Councilmember Stewart and Councilmember Ron will be stepping off the dais for this staff report and vote.
Yeah, thank you very much. We all recognize that this is a little bit odd, but it is the law in the state of California, and we have an opinion from about 10, 15 years ago from the FPPC that this is the way to do it, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
And now you can call on the staff to make the presentation.
All right. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor and remaining council members, I'd like to introduce our Fire Marshal, Elsa Weigel, and Mark Collins from Planning to present on this item.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Kalfis, council members, and city staff. Tonight, we are bringing to you the local fire map adoption that has been brought to us by the state of California. Assembly Bill 211 was passed that required local agencies to adopt moderate, high, and very high fire severity zones designations within 120 days from the Office of the State Fire Marshal for recommendations. Local governments cannot downgrade state designated hazard levels, but may increase them if justified. With that, how are fire maps created? CAL FIRE created all these fire maps. They were then passed on down to the cities and counties throughout the state of California, which brings us here tonight. Extensive computer modeling was used to develop these maps. State requirements has 3 different zones that are designated on the high fire severity zone maps, which goes from very high to moderate. Each one breaks down what's required for each one of those zones on the fire maps. Yep.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. We did have a few additional requirements outside of the adoption. The city was required to post the map and some additional information for the public to review. This was required within 30 days of March 24th. These items were published April 1st, so we met that deadline. And that kind of squares away what we needed to do for the state prior to the ordinance. Now we'll kind of jump into the ordinance. The municipal code was originally adopted by the City Council in 1990. Since its adoption, this body has periodically made amendments to it to improve clarity, implement state law, or improve processes. Each municipality has a local responsibility area, a fire map essentially, and Temecula's was last updated in 2009. This is the 2009 map. I would like to point out that the Santa Margarita Ecological Reserve, we call it the SMR, is not there, and that's roughly 4,200 acres. That was annexed in roughly 2010, so it wasn't a part of this map when it was adopted. The 2009 map covered roughly 2,300 parcels, right around 1,900 dwellings, and around 2,400 acres. Additionally, I should mention that this map only was required to show the very high fire severity zone, not the high or moderate zones. And then on March 24th of this year, the State Fire Marshal released the new map that Elsa mentioned a few minutes ago. Temecula, along with all municipalities, are required per subsection 51179 to adopt the map within 120 days. This is the new 2025 map. It covers roughly 9,100 parcels, an increase of roughly 6,800, 9,200 dwellings, an increase of around 7,300 dwellings, and right around 11,000 acres, an increase of 8,500. Keep in mind about 4,500 of this was that SMR annexation in 2010. And then just an apples to apples comparison, the 09 versus what is before you today. And then this is something planning and our GIS staff worked with. We went ahead and took the state's fire map and overlaid it with our GIS and our parcel data, and this is what gave us that detailed numbers that I presented to you a few minutes ago. So, a little ugly in there. And then the proposed ordinance itself would add Chapter 15.14, Fire Hazard Severity Zone Maps, to Title 15 of the Municipal Code. This chapter provides information on Temecula's fire map as well as a link to the map itself. Okay. CEQA determination, staff has determined that this project is exempt from further environmental review per CEQA guidelines, section 15061B3, 15303, and 15308. Staff recommends to introduce and read by title only the proposed ordinance. This completes my presentation, and we are available for all of your questions.
Thank you very much. Any of my colleagues have any questions? Councilmember Schwenk?
Yeah, just a quick question. Could you put up the map again, the new map? We all had our one-on-one, so we've already seen these. And can you go back to the one where it's, yeah, that one right there is fine. Okay, so if you look at that eastern portion of the city, I guess that's Crown Hill, the outlying area in the county is like the orange, but then the city is like the highest severity. And do we know why that's like that?
We do not know. That was all determined by the state.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I had some problems with that, you know, obviously. It's sort of like, well, can you show your work, you know? Like you say, well, I'd like to see the work, how that happened. Because that's a pretty significant change for a lot of homeowners right there. Yeah, I guess that's my only question, is some of the lack of answers that we received.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So just a couple questions. I thank you guys for your presentation, and also thank you for sitting down with me today and going over everything. You guys were really helpful. I'm going to ask some of the questions kind of that I proposed today, that we kind of talked about, just for clarity also for the public, if we can go over just a couple of those. Obviously, right now, this doesn't affect us financially, but in the future, is this a possibility that we might need to look at increasing our staff to be able to monitor any of this or whatnot in the future, or that's just unsure right now?
So as of right now, the way it stands with the city is code enforcement determines all the hazard reduction and mandates all the hazard reductions here within the city. It's not done through fire prevention or through department personnel on the suppression side. So code enforcement is already using their tools that they have to be able to use hazard reduction and weed abatement within the city, but now they are going to be tasked with the additional resources of having to enforce everything that falls under the zones, whether you're in a high fire zone or a moderate zone, for those setback requirements. And more people are calling in within their communities to complain about neighbors and open space areas as far as that goes. So it is going to increase the workload on the code enforcement side.
Okay, thank you. City manager, is there, where'd he go? Oh, there we go. Assistant City Manager, is there anything that you're thinking future? I don't know if we've talked about the possibilities of looking into having to add more manpower. I mean, I know we just went through the budget a couple of days ago. Does that look like something we're going to have the conversation with in the future?
I'm sure we're going to have plenty of conversations, and Aaron would probably repeat the same.
Okay, all right, awesome, thank you. And let me see, and anything you want to say to the HOAs or any of them that might be able to help out for them and their residents?
The HOAs that are within the city, we do have a couple of them that have been very proactive as far as working towards meeting requirements and making sure their development areas and their HOAs are maintained safe. We do have one particular HOA within the city through Meadowview that they are in the process of becoming a fire-wise community. They have taken all the measured steps to be able to meet those requirements. They are very actively involved in keeping their community and their HOA safe, and they are on the right process to be able to get that completed. They're very actively, and we do encourage all the other communities to move for that same process.
And my last final is because we've been doing this and we've been very proactive as a city, just out of curiosity, if you can just do a quick explanation, either one of you, about our ISO rating just recently last year on how that's been able to really help our residents, because we've been on this. Wow, wow. I guess it's all you.
So right now, we all know that the city's an ISO 2 rating, and we were able to obtain that, and that is a huge accomplishment here for the city in itself. To meet those requirements to be able to obtain an ISO 1, there's even a lot more that goes into detail with that, and Chief Crater would be the one that you would want to go over that as far as what that's going to detail for the city. But right now, we are on track to be able to maintain that ISO 2, and we should be very, very proud of that as a community and a city that we've accomplished that.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, it's been a big help for a lot of individuals to decrease their insurance, and we know that that's an issue, you know, statewide, but it's helping here and there. So thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you very much. And these maps, the insurance companies had these over a year ago, correct? And if so, any increased rates that homeowners would have seen, they probably would have already seen them, even though we are adopting, you know, or possibly adopting these maps tonight. The insurance companies had them over a year ago, is that correct?
Yeah, as far as we understand, yes, and most homeowners have already seen those increases in their costs.
Thank you very much. No further questions. I will now open the public hearing. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments? I will close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion and a second.
Motion?
Second.
That has been moved and seconded. And that motion passes 3-0 with the notable absences of Councilmember Ron and Councilmember Stewart. We will now happily welcome them back for business item number 14, if they're finished drinking their coffee in there. Yeah, they can.
They're just ignoring you.
Welcome back. All right, we'll move on to business item number 14, award consulting contract to De Novo Planning Group for comprehensive general plan update. Can I have a staff report, please, Mr. Peters?
I'd like to introduce Laurel Reimer from Sagegrass Planning. She represents the city on behalf of this update, and then Amanda Tropiano from De Novo Planning Group.
Welcome.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor Kalfas and council members. My name is Laurel Reimer with Sagecrest. I'm here with Amanda Tropiano with De Novo Planning Group. The presentation that we're providing tonight is providing more of an overview of what a general plan is and why it's such an important document to provide some context for the contract that's before you tonight. So a general plan sets a vision for the community, and it sets a vision for future development and provides policy guidance for the city's physical, economic, social, and environmental changes for about a 20-year time frame. It reflects the community priorities and values and includes goals, policies, and implementation measures to make the city's vision a reality. All California cities are required to have a general plan, and the state law requires certain topics or elements to be incorporated and included in a general plan. Temecula's general plan was first adopted in 1993 and last comprehensively updated in 2005. As you know, the city has changed and grown quite a bit since 2005. Additionally, there are a number of state laws that have been passed since then that need to be addressed within the general plan update. Overall, we envision this general plan update to be less about growth and more about maintaining and enhancing the high quality of life that's here in Temecula. And we also expect a big focus to be on circulation, so the roadway network, trails, et cetera, and on economic development. Given that general plans have such a long-range vision, it's typically a once-in-a-career type project for most staff. Even though a consultant is brought on to do the general plan update work, it still requires a lot of staff manpower, time, coordination, and an understanding of the general plan process to complete a general plan update. So knowing this, the Community Development Department hired Sagecrest Planning Environmental, which is me, to serve as the project manager and to assist the city in getting the general plan update completed. Additionally, essentially I'll be serving as an extension of staff, and my main role will be to be the main point of contact for anything related to the general plan update. I have a desk at City Hall, and you'll be seeing quite a lot of me over the next couple years. In March of this year, the city released an RFP to bring on a general plan consultant, which is Amanda. After thorough review of the proposals and interviewing several of the consultant teams, the city review team unanimously selected De Novo Planning Group to serve as the general plan consultant. De Novo has a great deal of experience preparing general plans for jurisdictions throughout California. Additionally, if the name De Novo Planning Group sounds familiar, it's because they did the city's 2021 to 2029 housing element. Staff felt that De Novo demonstrated the greatest understanding of the city of Temecula, and we really feel that they have the best grasp of the challenges and opportunities that the city has over the next couple decades. De Novo, the general plan covers all aspects of city life, and De Novo has assembled an excellent team of sub-consultants to work on various technical components of the general plan. So the 7 technical sub-consultants you see here will all have their hands on the plan. Probably the one that you will notice or that you might have the most interaction with is Kearns and West. They specialize in community outreach, and they will be assisting De Novo and staff in various public outreach efforts. I'm now going to hand it over to Amanda.
I'll just be sharing a few brief slides outlining the process and a particular emphasis on the public engagement program we've proposed as part of this general plan update. So to initiate the process, we are going to go through an analysis of your existing conditions and establishing a baseline understanding of the opportunities and potential challenges that may be facing the city of Temecula over the next 20 years. Based on this information, along with the public input that we'll be collecting really from day one of the project, we'll be preparing and evaluating any potential recommendations to your land use changes or to your land use map. As Laurel had mentioned, really we understand the emphasis here is on a range of important topics to the community, including potentially some strategic updates to the land use map, and those will be evaluated in collaboration with the City Council. That is really going to set the stage for developing the meat of the general plan, which are your goals, policies, and implementation actions. Our goal is to provide clear and consistent guidance so that both elected and appointed officials, as well as your community and property owners, all understand where the city's headed over the next 2 decades. We'll also be preparing a dedicated climate action plan as part of this work, so a focus on understanding the challenges with air quality, greenhouse gas emissions, and the changing climate, and addressing those proactively as part of this collaborative effort. And then ultimately preparing a defensible program environmental impact report that would allow future projects that are consistent with the general plan to find opportunities to be more efficient and streamlined as future projects are proposed and considered by the city of Temecula. Throughout this process, we're going to be conducting numerous opportunities for the community to really engage in the process. We've heard you loud and clear that this is a key component of the work program. So as part of that, we're going to be holding stakeholder interviews with key agencies and community members. We'll be conducting a general plan advisory committee, which will be serving as a conduit to share a variety of community input and representative ideas that are going to be funneled into the general plan policy document. At the beginning of the project, one of the things that I love most and I'm always the most excited about, we'll be holding a series of visioning workshops. We'll be having 5 of those, 1 in each of the council districts. Those will be supplemented by a range of pop-up events. Those are really us, being boots on the ground, showing up at where members of your community already are. So at youth sports events, at community events, outside of your grocery stores, really going to your community and asking them for their input. All of that will be synthesized and summarized into a vision plan document that will be, really memorialized as part of the kind of summary of that input we receive. So this is all really customized and reflected as part of that entire general plan update work.
So as you can imagine, this is a very large document. It takes a lot of input, and we anticipate it will be about a 2-year timeline to go from kickoff, which will begin next week, all the way through general plan adoption. The workshops, some of the major public outreach events that you'll first experience will be starting this fall. I guess first major deliverables will also be ready in the fall. We will have some open houses in the winter of 2026. The climate action plan will be prepared in the spring and summer of 2026. The environmental impact report scoping meeting will be in summer 2026. And the environmental impact report is, quite a big document that will be analyzing all of the proposed changes within the general plan. And the final EIR is expected to be completed in spring of 2027, and that will bring us back to adoption in the summer of 2027. And as Amanda stated, throughout the process, we will have a number of touch points with the public. We will also be back before you for various study sessions and other meetings. So this won't be the last time that you see us. And that concludes really our presentation. If you have any questions about the general plan update process, Amanda's role or my role, or the contract itself, we are available for questions.
Thank you very much. I know myself and Councilmember Ron are on the general plan update subcommittee, so we appreciate our conversations. But if any of our colleagues have any questions if not, we'll move on to any public comments. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments? All right, I will entertain a motion and approval.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. We look forward to working with you. We'll move on to item number 15, receive presentation regarding alternatives to evening city council meetings at the request of myself, Mayor Kalfas. Madam City Clerk, we have a staff report, please.
Yes, sir. We'll go ahead and we are at item number 15, and we have a couple of slides here, Mr. Mayor, and we will turn these slides over, or turn the presentation over to you after we go through some facts. So as you are aware, at the council meeting on May 14, 2025, with the concurrence of the full city council, the topic of exploring alternatives to evening council meetings was placed on the agenda at your request. Tonight's staff presentation is being provided in response to that direction. So our current meeting schedule, as you know, is the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. We have individual council briefings throughout the day. We have council subcommittee meetings throughout the day. We have a mayor's meeting at 10 a.m. We have closed session, if we're going to have it, at 5 p.m. And then we have our council meeting that begins at 6 p.m. We looked at our average council meeting times in 2024, and we're able to determine that the average is about 2.5 hours. There were some meetings that went much longer, and there were some meetings that were a bit shorter, but on average, we're between 2 and 3 hours. Next slide, please. All right. We wanted to go ahead and share some current community demographics because we know this is important to the council's decision-making process here tonight. All of these numbers are approximate based on the 2025 Claritas Pop Facts figures, and some of their figures actually come from the census as well. So based on those figures, we are at about 113,000 in the population range. Our average age is 38. It's important to know that we're a younger community. 20% of our population is under the age of 16. The bulk of our population, 66%, is between 16 and 64, and another 14% is 65 and over. We have almost 37,000 households, and out of that, about 80% of them are family households. From a housing perspective, we're about 66% owner-occupied, and 77% of our units are single-family detached units. Our average income is a little over $145,000, and our labor force of 16 and over is 95% employed. So approximately 54,000 folks in the active labor force now. Out of that 54,000, 66% are white-collar jobs, 16 blue-collar, and 17 service and farm industry jobs. And our average commute time is about 38 minutes. We do have approximately a little over 11,000 folks that drive 60 minutes or more from a commute time. So that's something to consider too, but the average commute time is 38 minutes. Next slide, please. We did go ahead and look at some of our other communities in Riverside County. The majority of them do have some aspect of an evening meeting, although the Board of Supervisors and the City of Riverside do have daytime meetings. Where the subcommittees fall and where the closed sessions fall varies greatly, so it's hard to do an apples-to-apples comparison. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you three potential alternatives to evening meetings. The first is a morning meeting where we can go ahead and do afternoon closed session and subcommittee meetings and have the morning council meeting. We can also look at afternoon meetings where we have morning subcommittee meetings and an afternoon closed session. And we can look at earlier evening meetings where you kind of have closed session and subcommittee meetings spread out throughout the day. Next slide, please. Here is what a potential schedule of a morning city council meeting could look like. Again, we're not tied to any of this. Staff has no recommendation on this particular item. These are just some potential schedules. Mayor's meeting from 8 to 9, a city council meeting from 9 to 12, lunch from 12 to 1, and closed session 1 to 2, and then subcommittee meetings 2 to 6. The benefit of this particular schedule is really you are consolidating your subcommittee meetings and your closed session all in one location in the afternoon and your city council meeting all in one location in the morning. Next slide, please. You can also take a look at afternoon council meetings in which you're consolidating your subcommittee meetings in the morning. So you can do 8 to 12 for your subcommittee meetings, and then again, lunch 12 to 1. You have the mayor's meeting from 1 to 2, city council meeting from 2 to 5, again, keeping that 3 hours, and then closed session if you need it from 5 to 6. Next slide, please. And then the last one is really an alternative to what you have now, an earlier evening council meeting. Again, you can consolidate subcommittee meetings in the morning from 8 to 12, lunch from 12 to 1, a mayor's meeting from 1 to 2, closed session from 2 to 3, and then have an earlier evening meeting from city council 3 to 6. For those in our region that did have daytime meetings, the main concept was to try to consolidate the city council meeting so you didn't have it broken up over a lunch period or of a break. You can go all the way through. Next slide, please. So with that, staff recommendation, again, there is no staff-specific recommendation. This is really for city council to discuss the topic and provide direction as desired. Additional changes, however, will need to potentially come back via resolution and ordinance as may be needed based on your direction. And should the city council wish to make any changes, we would definitely recommend that those changes start at a fiscal year or at a calendar year. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam City Clerk. I just want to hit over a few points that I spoke about at last meeting for those that weren't able to make it here or weren't able to review it on YouTube. As we know, our median age in Temecula is 38. Many residents are young families and have kids in sports and other activities, along with dinner and homework responsibility in the evenings. Many business owners are also working late into the evening, serving dinner and cleaning up and closing their shops and restaurants. Evening city council meetings, I believe, are not accessible for these segments of the community. There's very little community engagement that happen at city council meetings, and with my hope with changing the city council meeting time would be to have more community engagement in city business. And as we know, most engagement in regards to city business happens informally outside of these meetings. in the community itself, online, email, even at different places throughout our city, like city events, sporting events. We'll see individuals at Costco and other grocery stores where we talk and talk about things going on in our city. And for those reasons, I really want to try something different and change up our city council times. While I recognize that there's always going to be a portion and a segment of our community that is unable to attend any time that we put a meeting at, we need to look at providing the most access in the most effective and efficient way possible. And a few reasons for trying something new out could include enhanced participation. Like I said, some daytime residents who haven't participated before, like retirees, parents whose kids are in school, those working from home, or some businesses may find daytime meetings more accessible than the current evening meetings. Also efficiency. People tend to be more alert and productive in the mornings. These meetings start at 6 p.m. We're usually in the office from 9 a.m. To 6 p.m. when the meeting starts here, and that may result in less focus on behalf of the city council and city staff. So with an earlier meeting, there's the potential for more focus on city staff and city council, as well as improved access for city staff and city officials, as well as our legal counsel, municipal employees, outside governmental agencies often work standard business hours, and daytime meetings may reduce the need for overtime and extended work days. And lastly, the morning or afternoon meetings may have the potential to reduce costs. Overtime for our sheriff deputies that are here from 5 to 10 p.m., internal facility staff, especially with our newly proposed security screenings, when we have the metal detectors out there as well as the private security detail, we will need to pay them a few hours during these night meetings. And again, those are just some of the few of my thoughts that I have. And to me, if something isn't working, why don't we try something new? But again, those are my thoughts and perspectives. I'm looking forward to hearing from my colleagues to see what their thoughts and perspectives are, and if a change is needed, if it's not needed, and have that dialogue. Thank you. Any of my colleagues want to kick it off? And if we're interested, I like the morning meetings, but that's just my perspective. Mayor Pro Tem, want to kick it off? Right on you.
Nobody else wants to talk first? No? Okay. All right, sounds good. All right, well, first off, I just wanted to say thank you, Mayor Kalfas, for bringing this up. This actually, I don't want to say wasn't on my radar, but I think after you had brought it up, it definitely piqued some interest in a couple areas. As we look at county and other government agencies, same thing. They run morning meetings. I prefer, if we are going to switch to more of a morning meeting, I was thinking 10. If it has to be something at 9, that's fine. As I just did a little bit of research too, and I think most people know, it depends upon the person. So we have our night owls. I am definitely not one. I'd rather get up as early as possible and get my work started. But most people are proficient, like the productivity peaks between 10 and 2 o'clock. And so for us, I think it would be a great opportunity to be able to just have a lot of clarity. Not that we don't right now, but who's to say we can't have better clarity and be able to work on projects even better, since we're handling a lot of issues and things like that. Also, I think looking at it with the staff, you had brought it up as well, the staff, it's definitely going to make an impact on overtime. Also, sometimes our staff doesn't get out of here till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and whether or not people want to say, well, we pay them well, guess what? The next day they have to wake up and be able to be just as productive, and it's hard. It takes a toll when you're doing a lot of work. So I also just want to keep them in mind. And just also to put it out there that the residents still have access to us at all times. I love the fact that business owners with a schedule like this can come in at 10 o'clock during their business hours and actually have the conversation here rather than cutting into their family time or closing up as you had discussed. And so we can actually be even more productive with our business owners here in Old Town or wherever that looks like. And our individuals can really send us emails or even just come and have coffee, talk with us. I know Mr. Councilmember Matt Ron always loves having coffee with individuals. So that will never close. It's always open. So my thought is definitely, at least if it's one of these 3 schedules, I would like to do a 9 a.m. start.
Thank you very much, MPT. Councilmember Ron.
Sure, I'll go next. A couple things, and I had a couple of questions for staff and maybe the city attorney as well. But first of all, I'm not opposed to the idea. In fact, I kind of tend to want to support it. But I think we're making a lot of assumptions about people's schedules and their ability to be here or not based on their profession or, what they do for a living or their, family responsibilities. And so given that, and I also wouldn't say that there's very little engagement by the community or that this isn't working, because let me tell you, I've been at a couple meetings where there's plenty of engagement and involvement, and it's seasonal and it's cyclical as well, and I think it's very topic driven. So when it is important, people do show up. I also know that in my experience at the county level, daytime meetings for working professionals and families and others, when it is important, people still show up to those meetings too, right? So I want to be clear that I think we're working under a lot of assumptions of people we know or our own perspectives, but I wouldn't say that we're perfect at answering this question or at this solution is going to resolve things for everybody, because it might complicate things for others. And one of those populations in particular that I'm worried about is our youth, because we've had great engagement in our community over the years I've been here, and especially from our high schools showing up in the evening to attend. If we move this to a daytime meeting, that's going to really hamper their ability to be engaged. And for me, those were very formative experiences for me, to be able to attend a council meeting and see local government in action. And I know that, it's the same for some of those folks as well. So if we move this, one of the concessions I'd like is that we work with the schools but also city staff and others to see what can we do to shore that up, because I don't want to foreclose on that opportunity for our kids. So I don't have any ideas right now, and I apologize for that. But that is something, if we do make this decision, I'd like a commitment by the council and others to figure out. The question on the closed session, though, so I'm saying some of the proposals are closed session after council meeting. There have on occasion been closed session items that were germane to council discussion at a meeting in the evening. So navigating that, I think, is going to be, and sometimes it's timing and other things that have to be figured out. So navigating that, I don't know how big of an issue that is, and maybe the city manager and city attorney, since you bring those items largely to us, can help provide some clarity. And then the reporting out on that, because typically, like Mr. Thorson will this evening, report out on our closed session items that we had earlier today. If we're doing that after the meeting, does that happen at the next council meeting? I assume it would. But then, again, for full transparency and community engagement, we're missing a couple of weeks between when a closed session item happens and when the public hears, at least at an open session, what the results of those discussions were. So I'll pause there and see if maybe we can chat a little bit about those couple items.
Well, a couple of issues from my point of view is we haven't had too many closed sessions that we need to talk about before a council meeting. It has happened. And I think the way things are set up, you could have a closed session at, say, your start time of 9 a.m. and then start the regular meeting at 10. So that can be worked around. There's enough flexibility in the Brown Act to do that. And then second of all, with reporting, that's a good point. If we were to have a closed session after the meeting, I would report out afterwards. I usually give the city clerk the text of what I said so that she can put it in the minutes, and then we could set up something where she would post it on the city's website. So if anybody wanted to know what happened in closed session, they would know later on that afternoon or that evening.
Okay.
Councilman Ron, and to your first point or question towards us with respect to the youth, I think it was last year when the council gave us direction to really reimagine the youth in government program. And so I'd like Randy to just kind of speak to that and where we're at and where we're going with the school district, because it's going to look a lot different, and it might fill the void of folks needing to come here for a 1 hour service to get sign off on community service hours too. So Randy can share a little more.
Yeah, so as the City Council knows, you gave us unanimous direction on reimagining the Youth in Government program. And that particular program, we are excited, after we wrap up a few things with boards and commissions, to go ahead and develop a whole plan with the school district in regards to, they will no longer be coming to us initially. We will actually be going to them year-round in teams, and then they will in teams be coming to visit here. So that interaction is going to be available. As in regards to the slips, you see that the minute most students get their slips at 7 o'clock, 1 hour is their only requirement to be here. They cannot get out of here fast enough. As you know, I am an educator on the side, we are actually thinking about giving them an assessment. So as opposed to like sitting here for an hour on their phones and then right at 7 o'clock having a blue slip and they're out of there, they can watch 1 hour of any council meeting or any commission meeting they want, and then send in an assessment of 3 main points that they learned, and then we will go ahead and email them back their certificate. So there is still an opportunity to come up with something creative and potentially based on their preferences as well, and how they communicate and all of that kind of good stuff. So we haven't settled on anything. It's just all out there as we're starting to think about it.
Well, I appreciate that. And, from my perspective, I wasn't, because I know the Youth in Government program is typically focused on the advanced students in government courses, and I definitely wasn't one of those. Sad to say, but those required, times where I went to a city council meeting in my town were fairly, informative and informative, I guess, for me. And so I'd like to make sure we kind of think about how we recreate that experience and make it valuable for them. The other quick question was related to just the logistics. If we started at, say, 9 or 10 o'clock, but if we have, noticed other subcommittee meetings and things later in that day, and we have an item on the agenda that chews up 3 hours on its own, which has happened, and unbeknownst to us, right? I mean, we always try and predict, when the meetings are going to end, but sometimes we're way off on those predictions. That, I think, complicates a lot of things in our ability to do work. And then, for those of us who are also, have full-time jobs outside of this, if I have to reschedule an entire day of council subcommittee meetings, as a result of that, I'm not going to be able to do that. I have other commitments, and so on a short notice, being able to say, well, we missed, Tuesday because the meeting ran for 6 hours and all those subcommittee meetings, we're going to try and reschedule for the next day. My answer is largely going to be no. So I don't know how we navigate that. I see a little bit of it by pushing that council meeting to a little bit later in the day. And if it is the last item for that day, and let's say we start at 2 or 3 o'clock, then if it runs long, it's not going to disturb the rest of the council calendar. So I would just say, I like the idea of starting earlier, but I also fear that that's going to create a lot of complications in this that are sort of unforeseen. And so speaking of unforeseen circumstances and consequences from this, I'd also like to ask that we review this after 12 months. So I like the idea of starting at the fiscal year. So if we do decide to make a change, that it be at the fiscal year, but that at 12 months or so afterwards, we take a look at this and say, has engagement changed? Are we running into any issues? Not to forestall us being able to revert back or make another change if necessary. So.
All great points. Thank you very much, Councilmember. Councilmember Schwenk?
Yeah, thank you. I'll go ahead and jump in. So, Mr. Mayor, can you do me a favor and just re-articulate the goal again, because I missed that part. So what's the primary goal?
Ultimate goal, I would say, is to get more community engagement on city business. And ultimately to see, my belief right now, if you look out into the audience, there's about 4 people that are not staff. My hope would be to have more people, and it could be for me where we do 10 a.m., we do 1 p.m., it's the same people or it's less people, but we won't know unless we try. And my ultimate goal, I would say, is to get more community engagement.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I mean, that's admirable. Like, I think that's the whole point of what we're trying to do, right? We want a ton of engagement. But on one hand, it's like, we all sort of recognize that people engage us in a variety of ways, right? It's not like we're not accessible. We're clearly accessible, whether it's social media or email or Costco or wherever it is, right? So I have to think about, the means of communication and how people communicate nowadays. I do have concerns. I mean, I think, intuitively everyone would be, well, this seems reasonable, right? Maybe we'll be fresher and we'll be ready to go, whatever. I think that there's some points to be made, but I don't know that morning meetings are necessarily the answer, right? I think the water district still does morning meetings. The school district did a morning meeting today, and there were like 4 people there. Like 4 people were there. Our budget workshop had 0 people from the public there last Thursday. And that's really been sort of like historically how those meetings go, unless there's an issue. And when there's an issue, whether it's a 9 a.m. budget meeting or whether it's 7 o'clock, we used to do these meetings at 7 o'clock, but there's a 7 o'clock meeting, which we stayed here until 3 o'clock in the morning a few times, So people certainly find the time when they need to. I have concerns about the presentation side of things. So a lot of the presentations got Eagle Scouts or Little League teams or soccer clubs or whatever. So like those are going to go away if we do those. If we start a meeting before 4 o'clock. High school gets out at 3:30 right now. So you're asking a parent to sort of race from. Well, actually, they probably have practice, so they're going to have to come later or whatever. But it sort of complicates some of the presentation side of things. I think probably the biggest thing that I'd like to see us do is really reestablish the way that we communicate with the community, right? Like, we can do things differently. Maybe there's opportunities to meet the community where they are at times. We did a council meeting one year, we did it at the duck pond. And I thought that was pretty cool. I think, we probably had a very similar amount of engagement, but, you can imagine at times trying to do a meeting, somewhere else, right? Like, let's go to the community. Let's go to the MRC or the Harveston Amphitheater or Ronald Reagan or whatever. So I think there's opportunities for that. I think, so I don't like the negotiating on the dais approach to this at all. Like, because I think we're just throwing stuff like out there. Oh, this sounds good, or maybe we could try this, or we don't really know if anything that we do would be an enhancement over what we're doing. And I fear that this item was the very last item sort of buried on this agenda. And if we were to decide something tonight with like 0 sort of public outreach, like I didn't do any outreach on this. I didn't talk to folks about it. Didn't necessarily think we were gonna sort of come up with a new start time tonight. But more importantly for me, I think the optics of this are bad. If you think about being more transparent, like you can't argue that more people would come here at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, they're dropping their kids off at school. They're either heading to work, if they're lucky enough to work in Temecula, they're heading to work for the folks that work day shifts, or they've been at work for a few hours in San Diego or Riverside, or Orange County, or LA. And I would hate to do that. And then finally, the last thing that I'll sort of end with is, 2 more things. When there is an issue, like tonight we had 8 speakers, none of which I expected. You expect 1 or 2, and 6 or 7 of those I didn't expect to hear from them. I didn't get an email, I didn't get tagged on social media. It was like this was their opportunity to come, and they took advantage of it. So I think there's value in that. And again, for me, it's really the optics of it. I think, while I would love to say like, hey, let's do the 8 to 5 thing, and like this is a standard job, this isn't a standard job. We all have other obligations, work full-time, and much like you, Councilmember Ron, like trying to sort of navigate this in a way is already difficult enough, and if we sort of run into problems, that would be trouble. My final thing is, I believe we do too much on Council Tuesdays. And when we try to pack everything into Council Tuesday, for whatever reason, maybe we only want to be here on a Tuesday, or think it's more efficient if we're here all day. I don't think it's more efficient. I think it's, we need to do a little bit less on Council Tuesdays, do the meetings on Council Tuesdays and some subcommittee meetings. But I think, you know, and it's as long as I've been here, it's been, you know, pack it in on Council Tuesdays. And I don't think that's the way to do it. You have, you know, council members and staff running from room to room. One meeting gets 5 minutes off, and then the next meeting's 10 minutes off, and pretty soon you're like, everyone's frazzled and trying to get to the next meeting, and you know, someone's in your office, and you're sort of running around on a Council Tuesday. And so I've tried to spread out some of my meetings to make it so I'm not here just that whole block a day. Part of it is I'm also at work, you know, for a portion of that time. But I think trying to pack so much into Council Tuesday is hard on the council members. It's hard on the community. So if someone says, "Hey, I'd love to come meet you," and it's like, okay, well, you can come on second or fourth Tuesday. Well, we try to be accommodating, and I know we all are, and we try to spread it out. But then it's also hard on staff again, sort of bouncing between meetings for the bulk of the day. So I'm not opposed to like exploring this in greater detail. I just don't necessarily like this, and I certainly don't like the optics of it. I don't think it looks good for transparency.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Stu.
All right. Well, I was on the Water District for 4 years, and we met at 8:30 a.m. And believe it or not, when there was an issue that someone was passionate about, they showed up. So I'm not afraid of people not showing up if they're really passionate about it. However, I do have the same concern as Councilmember Ron with the community engagement, especially with the youth. And I know we do have opportunities to go out into the schools and, you know, bring it to them. But there is something to watching how the sausage is made here, you know, and I think that's something that would be lost in that. Am I opposed to pushing it up to maybe 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock? You know, I could see that because again, I mean, here it is 8 o'clock, and this is really early. I mean, to be on our last item. But I have the same concerns as Councilmember Schwenk, and so I'm not really in favor of a morning meeting for the same reason is if we start having noticed meetings and our council meeting drags on, which can very easily do, that could cause some issues and conflicts. Whereas if we do a later start, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there, that would give us opportunities to get those meetings done ahead of time, you know, in a nice orderly fashion. I'm not opposed to definitely pushing it up. So you know, we and the staff aren't here quite so long. So, but like Councilmember Schwenk said, this is not a normal job. You know, we signed up for this. So whatever works best for the public, and I totally agree. We engage the public on a different level than they did 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You know, my social media page is really where people connect with me, and I connect with them and tell them what's happening in the city and, you know, what the council is doing. So I don't feel like anybody who I represent has a problem talking to me or finding me. My phone number's been listed on my Facebook page for 9 years now, and you know how many calls I get? So it's like people know how to get you if they want you, and but I do I do have a sense of responsibility, especially to staff, because it does become a very, very long day once they've spent an entire day here and now they're spending their entire night here. And so if there was a way somehow we could push the schedule up, I mean, we went from 7 to 6, which was huge, and it was a fantastic idea. And it did absolutely way more than I expected as far as my enjoyment and, getting me home before 10 o'clock most of the time. So, and to go an hour earlier or an hour, let's move the needle. Let's just see where it lands, where it's kind of like the sweet spot that maybe the kids, the students can still get here after school. Because the ones who want the little blue sheet, they'll show up, and there's probably not too many athletes who are in training or in a sport that's going to show up even at 6. I mean, let's face it, they're already toast at that time. So I think there's an opportunity to maybe move our schedule up a little bit and make it a little bit more, I don't want to say convenient because it's not convenient. I mean, but to take some of the pressure off the staff, if we started at 5 even, or even 4, that still would give plenty of opportunity for people to get here who really, really wanted to get here. And so I'm definitely in favor of moving the needle again. Let's find a sweet spot that actually works really well for the community, for us in general too. So that's my take on this.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to mention that we didn't put the order of the agenda in here, but just know the order of the agenda remains at the will of the City Council. So even if you were to adjust times, it is up to you if you want to do presentations at the end, student slips at the end, like you have control over the agenda. We just didn't include it in the presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam City Clerk. I know every point that my colleagues made, I understand and I hear you and I agree. And I think one of the biggest ones for me is that youth in government aspect and trying to find a way for them to also see how the sausage is made, but also be more engaged. And the reality of it is that, like the city clerk said, they come for the hour, they're on their phone texting for a little bit, they get their slip and they're out of here. How do we get more engaged? And that's the whole point of revamping that youth in government program. We go to them, but it's also cool for them to come to us. So I totally see that, and that's a huge point that Councilmember Ron and Stu talked about that I completely agree with. I think the youth needs to stay involved, even if we do move the time up or we move a morning or afternoon. I think youth here is huge. And Councilmember Schwenk, you brought up the presentation. I think that was a great point, one that I didn't think about. The youth being able to come here, the teams being able to come here and present to them. If it's a morning meeting, that might not be possible. And I also like where you said meet them where they are. The meeting at the duck pond, all great ideas. And I think we have an opportunity, say we choose 10 a.m. or we choose 3 p.m. We always have the opportunity to change a certain meeting. Say we do, we start at 3 p.m. and then we have special meetings at the end of the fall season, at the end of the spring season, where we have all the presentations for the athletes that did well throughout their respective seasons or something. But we don't have to, even now, we don't have to stick to 6 p.m. every meeting. We always have the opportunity to say, hey, we're going to do a different time for this meeting. So I think there's opportunity for adjustment, and I always say my favorite thing about city council policy is the ability for that policy to be changed, and that is no different here today. But all great points. I think it's important that we work with the schools to figure out what is the best way to get them involved and engaged. And like Councilmember Ron said, I don't want just the most advanced students in government and economics to be the ones that are able to participate with us. I think all students should have that ability, and us going to them, I think that provides that ability. But I do think it's important that we do have this, this discussion on the dais in front of the public, have it be as transparent as possible, and go from there. But I totally see what my colleagues say. I don't know what the happy medium is. I don't think any of us do, but I think that's the point of this is to discuss that and see it. And I'm for the morning meeting. I think we can make it work, but it may not work. But I'm also willing to try. and try something different to see if it helps or if it's more beneficial, and if not, we revert. And I like the Councilmember Ron where he talked about review after 12 months. I think whatever decision we make, if we do make a decision to change here tonight, that there's a review process prior to us just putting this in place. But I'm up for moving the meeting up. Councilmember Ron?
Oh, go ahead. Mr. Schweik.
Councilmember Schweik.
Yeah, okay, I'll go ahead and go. So a couple things. Like, I think it's probably better if we want engagement to not just talk about kids being on their phone. So like we're like, oh, we want you to be here, but you're just on your phone the whole time. Like we need to figure a better way to engage them, right? And I think that's what we're trying to do with youth in government. Who are the meetings for? Are they for staff? Are they for us? Who are they for?
The people.
Yeah, the people. So I think we need to understand in greater detail what the people need, right? And I think, moving to 5 o'clock that's reasonable. I could look at that and say, well, that's reasonable. And then you'd want to stick it there for a while. People build their lives around certain things, and when you start changing it, it makes it really difficult. Going to a morning meeting from a city that's done 7 o'clock meetings for most of its existence and 6 o'clock for the last few years, going to morning meetings I think is a dramatic change, and I don't think it's in the best interest of the people that need to be here. And I really just think that's where it lands. I think there's so much we can do to better engage with the community. I don't know that moving the time is the means to make that a reality.
Councilmember Ron.
So I wouldn't be opposed to starting the meetings earlier. I think the morning meeting is going to be problematic for a number of reasons that I mentioned. I wouldn't mind seeing a meeting starting at about 3 o'clock. School's getting out, transition, still have an opportunity, and like City Clerk said, of putting presentations and proclamations and other things into the sort of back end of the meeting at the discretion. I mean, in an ideal world, we would put a survey out to the community and say, hey, what time do you like? And, and we'd find this, 85% of our residents say 4:25, But the reality is we've got 5 people here this evening, and one of them's a commissioner. So, not that you don't count Mr. Maddox, we love having you, but we've got 5 people here this evening who've made it to, 8 o'clock. The last meeting I think we were at, we had 2. So everybody may have a strong opinion in the community of what works, but then who actually shows up and regularly participates is a very different response. And so, look, let's be honest, we've had a lot of very hot topic meetings where we get a lot of folks showing up that definitely aren't residents of Temecula, but still have an opinion that they want to share, right? So again, who's this meeting for? Well, it's for the public. But to be more specific, though, this is a business meeting of the city of Temecula, right? We have it in public because that is a requirement by law. But the reason we have the meeting is because it is a business meeting for the city of Temecula. And so, yes, I'm all for transparency and engagement and everything else, but, I think we need to be a little bit cognizant of some of that. So all that said, I wouldn't be opposed to, saying start time of 3 or 4 o'clock, and given that an opportunity to see how it fares.
Councilmember Stu.
I would like to second that almost motion because, but no, I think a 3 o'clock, and like you said, I mean, most of our meetings go at least 2 hours. And so and on average 2.5, but usually an average meeting is between an hour and a half and 2 hours. So if we back-ended the presentations to the back end of it, and they showed up at 5 or 4:30, that's well into, and then they're out before dinner, and we get them home, and like Councilmember Ron was saying, this really is a business meeting. I mean, we do hold it in public for that transparency, but because I really do think the engagement that we're talking about, we all get. I mean, I get a lot of engagement from the public. I mean, I cut their hair, and they sit and tell me what they're wanting, what they're thinking, what's wrong with the city, what's, so I hear it all. So, so I think a 3 o'clock start would be a really good start, because I think that way we can make it through all of our meetings in the morning, and then, finish off with the business end of the meeting first, followed by whatever, community engagement that we have with the proclamations and the certificates that we present. So that's what I'm in favor of, a 3 o'clock start. So that's that.
Thank you, Councilmember Stu. MPT?
Well, I just wanted to look something up, and I think maybe something we're forgetting to look at is we keep talking about engagement, right? And how many people are actually looking at the meetings and here at the meetings. The thing is not everybody can make the meetings, nor do people actually want to make the meetings. Let's call it really what it is. However, when I look online and I take a look at our city council meetings, example, on May 13th, we had 229 views. People are watching the meetings, but they're just not sitting here watching it. They're doing it at their own convenience when it's good for them. So I want to back kind of what, Councilmember Ron was saying is, this is a business meeting and people are seeing what's going on. And we always either hear it prior to if they have something really important to say, because they'll look at the agenda, or they'll come the next meeting and be able to have their comments, or some way they'll have a meeting with us. So I want us to really not forget that people are connecting with us. It's just not right in our seats anymore. It's a very different perspective as we move into this, AI whole thing. But I, just listening to my council members, just to be able to, I would love a 10 a.m. meeting. I'm just that morning person. I like to get my things done. But I see a lot of good valuable points on everybody's side. And just to, meet everybody where we can kind of find a consensus, I think 3 o'clock, I would definitely say that would be a good idea. And I agree. I don't remember who was saying about slamming everything on Tuesdays. Now, I know I'm a Tuesday gal. I work as well, but I do try to be here at least every Tuesday. And I know most of us do. It's hard. It's not easy for all of us. But I want to say, hats off. We really do try to make it work and work together. So I'm in consensus with a 3 p.m. meeting to try that. And also looking back or looking ahead in a year, or maybe in January, to see if we want to continue. So just definitely revamping and taking a look at that. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you, MPT. Councilmember Schwank?
Yeah, let's walk through like a scenario. So we can move the agenda around and do whatever we want, right? So we do, we do proclamations and presentations at the end, right? And so we start at 3 o'clock, and we've got a Little League team, and we've got a scout to come. And what do we tell them? What time do we tell them to be here?
Oh.
No, I'm asking you guys.
Oh, my buttons.
I would say the meeting starts at 3 p.m. The presentation will happen sometime after that.
Right. So I think that's the problem.
Hang on. I think we could tell them a time certain and say 5 o'clock, right? And the reason being is because if we could provide them with a time certain, we need you here at 5 o'clock for this. Regardless of what's happening, if we're going long on a debate or whatever's happening on the council business, if we promise folks, hey, we need you here at 5 o'clock, we'll give them that 5 o'clock, and it's up to the mayor, to kind of give that discretion, right? And say 5 o'clock, we're going to pause right now and get to this item, and then we'll go back to this one later. Or alternatively, and this is just something that we as council and staff have, I have the unique distinction of having run the shortest meeting in Temecula's history. I'm very proud of that fact, but it was just slightly over 12 minutes, right? Trust me, if we ever have an agenda that comes close to that 12-minute mark, I will have 3 people come to make public comment, so I retain that title. But if that does occur and we have a 13-minute meeting, then it's incumbent on us and everybody else to stay around until 5 o'clock, and we can either hang out here and have coffee and chat with folks or go back to our offices, but be back here at 5 o'clock for that time certain proclamation or resolution or presentation or whatever.
Yeah, and I think for me, that's problematic, because if you're in the middle of a debate and you got to stop at 5 o'clock, it really just sort of breaks the flow. Look, again, I'm not opposed to some of the changes, and I don't need to, sort of like continue on. I just don't know. I think we're trying to solve a problem that in some ways you all have already solved, because you've all said, like, well, people watch online, people are, like, so now we're just like moving the meeting to make it easier for us and for staff. I just don't know that that's the reason to move it. Look, we've been here, most of the day, and we're here at 8:20 tonight. I'd much rather be home with my family. I'd much rather be home with my family. But like I said earlier, this isn't a regular job, and some of the cities in the county, they do morning meetings for the reasons that they do them. I think, doing a meeting in the evening where more people work days than nights, more people commute out of the city than stay here, so it gives them the most opportunity for people to be here and to either thank us for freeway projects or tell us we suck. And so like I said, I'm not against moving it up to 5. I think that's reasonable. I think going a little farther complicates some things, and we can sort of like make a circle argument to make it seem like it's going to work out, and maybe it will, but I don't really want to be on the end of like, you guys moved up a meeting and I can't come now, and I've been trying to come for years, and I think there's some things that may come back to bite us on this one.
Can I ask a quick question for the city manager or city attorney or city clerk? I'm not sure who. Related to TCSD, SARTA, are these separate actions that have to be done by those entities, or does the city council vote cover all of those entities in the process? Or would we have to come back and treat each one separately?
Well, we'd have to come back to treat the council, so we probably just bring resolutions for the other ones.
Understood, okay.
Probably have a joint meeting, so you can just do it in one motion.
Okay, thanks.
All right, I think we've all given our thoughts and perspectives. I will make the motion to start our city council meetings at 3 p.m. with closed session starting at 2 p.m. To revisit that in 1 year and 12 months, but to start this at the new fiscal year, so starting the first meeting in July is when it would start.
Mr. Mayor, just really quickly,
Yes.
can I also clarify that that direction includes reordering the agenda so that any public participation on presentations, public comments, students, et cetera, that is on the back end of the business agenda?
Yes. And with the point, I would say to also ensure that we reach out to, if this passes, to TVUSD to let them know that the time has changed. And that is my motion.
Second.
That has been motioned and seconded. Let us vote. And that motion passes 4-1 with the notable no of Councilmember Schwenk. All right, with that, we will move on. We have departmental reports, receive and file. Do my colleagues have any items for future city council agendas? Seeing none. City manager report?
Nothing further tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. City attorney?
We had a closed session, and we have no reportable actions under the Brown Act.
Thank you very much. With that, I will adjourn this meeting to our next regular meeting of the city council, which will be held on Tuesday, June 10th. We will see you then.